Hello, and welcome to Blank Plate, a podcast for Swifties with an appetite.
I'm Sarah, and I used to be a little kid with glasses in a twin-size bed.
And I'm Laura, and I'm a mess, but I'm the mess that you wanted.
And we've got a blank plate, baby, and we'll write your name.
Ah! Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're here. We're recording the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah and I have talked about making this podcast for how many years?
Oh gosh, at least 2 years now that we've been talking about it.
So, I guess before we get into our normal spiel, some background. Sarah and I used to have a podcast together called Passports and Pizza.
Yes, we did.
We paused the pod and knew that this was our next big project because when we were together, all we would do was talk about Taylor Swift. So
right. We knew it had become our new passion, and therefore we had to change gears.
Yes.
So if you're joining us from that podcast, thank
Hello.
you so much for following us into this new space.
I guess, can we just do a quick little intro? What do we do for our jobs? Where are we from? How do we know each other? And then we can get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm Laura, and I am a music teacher. I'm also a traveler, a writer, a photographer, and I like to do travel content on the side. But yeah, my day job is that I'm a music teacher. So I talk a lot about music every single day. So having a music podcast was an easy idea for sure, especially for somebody as cool as Taylor Swift. So
right. So that's where your expertise in that area will come in.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not a music teacher, but I'm a music lover. And I took piano lessons for years, and I certainly have a lot of musical knowledge, but not to the extent that you do.
So, yeah, right. But you have the Taylor Swift OG status, so
right. Yes.
So what do you do for work?
Okay, so my job is kind of strange. I work for a memorial company where I used to always say I do custom hand etchings on gravestones, but my job is currently transitioning a little bit. So I'm no longer going to be doing the hand etchings where I use a diamond tipped Dremel tool to etch into granite. And so essentially I create illustrations on people's tombstones. And my job is changing a little bit to remove the hand etching aspect, and I'll be focusing just on purely digital creations that we then execute with our laser etching machine, which I also operate and create all the files for. So we're moving in that direction.
She's an artist and illustrator, y'all.
Yes, I went to school for illustration and graphic design, but I've been at this job now for about 12 years, which is crazy to think about.
That is crazy.
I know. But I used to have, I technically still have a food blog called Cake Over Steak, which is an illustrated food blog. So I did illustrations to go along with each post. I have not posted on there in a few years, but it's still there if you want to check it out and give it some love. So aside from that, in my spare time, I do try to be creative in other ways, like this podcast being one of them. And yeah, so
Sarah also is an amazing cook. Amazing cook.
Well, so are you.
Okay, but I don't have a food blog, so also your chocolate chip cookies are supreme. So
well, yes, yeah, I would say I'm a much better baker than I am a cook, but
yes, you're an amazing. I should have said you're an amazing baker. You are an amazing cook, but you're an amazing baker.
Thank you. Yeah, baking is definitely one of my passions that I've always had since middle school as a stress reliever, downtime kind of thing. I don't do it as much now as I used to, which is sad. I honestly don't know how I used to have so much time for it, but I know somehow I did.
Well, I think the thing that connected Sarah and I off initially as friends was our love of blogging, because I had a travel blog, you had a food blog, and connecting on making events for our blogs and photographing stuff together. And then I became such a huge foodie through dating Luke and through traveling and experiencing different food cultures. And yeah, like our two main interests were always like blogging and food. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then, yeah, that's how sort of our friendship blossomed. We do a annual trip of Feast of St. Pizza, which I guess we can talk about later, but the gist is like, what's Feast of St. Pizza? Because we're probably going to talk about it here. So
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Because yeah, that was one of the first big collaborations that you and I did.
for sure.
And so Feast of St. Pizza was an idea that I got from listening to a pizza podcast. So we're not the creators of the Feast of St. Pizza. It was a couple guys in New York City who did it. And the idea was they visited like the 10 top pizza places in New York City, I think across all 5 boroughs in one day. And I thought this sounded so fun. And I realized that you didn't have to do this in New York City. We could do it in
Yeah.
our own town, which at the time we were both living in Lebanon. So we're from Central PA. So I organized a pizza crawl in our town and enlisted Laura to help me. And we both blogged about it because, you know, for Laura, it was like the travel side and that idea of local adventure that you were like, you know, talking about a lot. And for me, it was food. I mean, it's just pizza. You don't really have to get anything else going on there for me. Um, so, so yeah, we gathered a ton of friends and we visited 10 pizza places in our town in one day. And we had so much fun that we were like, we have to do this again.
It's an annual
And,
thing now.
and yeah, so we've done, I mean, we skipped like 2 years because of COVID,
Right.
but I think this past year when we went to New Haven was like our 8th in-person one, maybe.
Yeah,
Or yeah.
that probably is right. We've been a lot of places in central Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to New Jersey, but this was like our first like big trip like outside of New Jersey,
Yeah.
with a group of people. And it's so much fun. And I'm sure we'll talk
Yeah.
about it here because we're a foodie podcast for Swifties. So
Yeah. I don't know. Like Taylor really needs to talk about pizza more,
yeah, true.
but we'll figure it out. But
We
yeah,
know
so we
she
do
loves
that
her
every
chicken
year.
tenders, but does she love her pizza?
Yeah. And seemingly mayonnaise. Wait,
Seemingly
no, seemingly
ranch.
ranch.
Seemingly ranch.
Oh, I already screwed something up.
We're gonna make mistakes, guys. That's part of it.
Yes.
So anyway, that's a little background, like a little context about who we are. You're gonna get to know us very well.
Yeah.
So like what to expect with the podcast. So we're a Swifty foodie podcast, combining our two
Mm-hmm.
loves. And I think we're gonna see like a variety of different things here. We're gonna talk about song specific episodes. So like we'll choose a song, we'll chat about it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any food or drink references, we're gonna dive deep into that. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
talk about like Taylor's recipes, mentions of like restaurants if she's been out in New York or I guess in
Yeah.
good old middle America. And
Are you referring to Kansas City?
yeah. And maybe we'll do like a food or cocktail pairing with a song. Like this song
Mm-hmm.
to me is a blank cocktail because
Right.
just fun stuff like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
so essentially this is first and foremost a Taylor Swift podcast, but we will have food as a running, like underlying current and theme.
you mean an invisible string?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
very much like an invisible string.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll discuss like Taylor news,
Mm-hmm.
deep dives into Taylor. The
Yeah,
folklore of her songs is a big thing that we love to talk about.
definitely
Um,
breaking down new releases and her re-recordings as they come out.
yes, that'll be fun.
The
Um,
drama, the controversies.
the scandals.
There's just so much to discuss.
I know. Also, I'm sure we're going to be talking about like foodie news, recipes that we were making, stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we're, as you can probably tell, we're pretty chatty. So this is not the place to get your cutting like dry news. We are
Yeah.
going to be a chatty podcast. If that's not for you, cool. Scroll
Mm-hmm.
on. Like,
Right.
fine. But yeah, this is our chance to reconnect too as friends. Like it's our little date that we get to have to catch
Yeah.
up too. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Definitely.
Oh man. So I guess what's our origin stories with Taylor? I think you should start because you are the OG Swifty. So
Yes, of the two of us, I'm the
yes,
OG Swifty.
for sure.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, it really is a love story, but I
Just
guess
say yes.
I know.
I'm gonna be full of these. I'm sorry.
No, that's the idea. This is where we can get it out.
Yes.
Not that we're not getting it out in our normal lives.
Yeah, that's true.
So I grew up hearing Taylor, and I definitely had some of that. I mean, she was always a punchline, right? Like, she was so obviously successful and talented, but also still always a punchline. So I feel like there was always that stigma of not wanting to say that you like her, which I know you're going to talk about a lot with your journey with Taylor.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely had a little bit of that running through the back of my mind in my early years of experiencing her just like on the radio. I always enjoyed her songs, like Love Story, it comes on, you love it. You Belong With Me, all those things. You hear them, you know the words, you sing along. You're not going to skip, you're not going to change the radio station if that one's on, right? So then her Red album came out, which honestly I wasn't even aware, like, oh, Taylor Swift has a new album out. It was just like her new singles were coming out. I'm like, okay, she's got new music. And I was really enjoying them. But then it was her song 22 that I can almost like vividly remember driving home from work. 22 was on, and I was just jamming out to it. I was like, this song is so fun. And also, I am the same age as Taylor. I am a 1989
Yes,
girl.
you
I'm a little
are.
older because I was born in June. And Taylor was born in December, as we all know, December 13th. So her song 22 is definitely really resonating with me at that time in my life because I was 22. And I remember driving home and just enjoying the song so much that I was like, I have really enjoyed her last several singles. Like, I should just buy her album. And this was at the time when
You bought
you,
albums?
yeah, like you had to go on iTunes and pay $10 for the album. And it wasn't something I did a ton. Like at the time, I think I was still using Pandora all the time to listen to music on my phone and stuff. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just download this album. Like I'm probably going to enjoy it. So I downloaded the Red album. And it must have been like a Thursday because then I remember my first full day with this album was a Friday at work. And I just listened to that album on repeat the entire day. Which is not something I had done before. I mean, certainly not since like the era of the CDs where you get a new CD and like you just play. But even still, I probably wouldn't have played it on repeat for like 8 hours. So I played Red all day at work, and I was new to my job at the time. So I was kind of still getting the ropes there, and I was just zoning out listening to this album. By the end of the day, I was like, I've been listening to this album all day straight, and I'm not tired of it at all. Like, it's really good. I'm loving this.
Was this like your senior year of college? Like how old were you?
No, this was post college because I was at my job that I'm at currently.
Gotcha.
So this was actually probably because it came out in the fall of 2012, right?
Yeah.
So I was probably listening to this in 2013.
Gotcha.
So like 10, 11 years ago. And because I think it was the spring of 2013. That would be my guess. Yeah, I think so. So from there, I fell in love with the Red album. And then I ended up buying Speak Now and Fearless on my phone as well. And then I basically only listened to Taylor Swift on my commutes for like 2 years straight.
And I never stopped.
Yeah. And I never stopped. But I remember at that time trying to figure out why it was so good. And it's something that has been discussed so much, especially this year, the year of the Barbie movie and Taylor Swift, and being like, and the Eras tour, shout out, like what it is about her music that resonates so much. And I could tell that her music, more than anyone else's I had ever really connected with, I really listened to the words and the stories that she was saying. Because for me, a lot of songs that I love, I couldn't tell you what the heck it's about. I don't know, and I don't care. Like it's just sound and vibes. But with her, it was both sound and vibes and story.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, she's a woman in it with a similar singing range, so it was very easy for me to sing along in the car, which I love. There were just all these things, but there was just something I knew at the time. I was like, this woman paints a picture like nobody else, and her songs just make me feel things. And I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I was like, am I a Swiftie? I think I'm a Swiftie. So
Yeah.
that's where it all started for me. And then 1989 came out. And of course, that was huge. I love that. And then by the time Reputation came out, like I was in it, and this is what is so funny, Laura. I remember after Reputation came out, I remember arguing with you in a bar.
Yes, we argued at a bar.
In 2017 about Reputation and about Taylor Swift, because you were still very much like, you're like, I just don't get it. Like, she's not that good. She sounds like other people. I don't know.
Totally.
And I remember you were also complaining because this is 2017, so like tumultuous times.
Yeah.
I remember you and I arguing about how like we were both concerned about the fact that she had not used her platform really to speak out politically. And while I like agreed with you on that point, I also was saying like it's hard for even like us as normal people to like go on our own Facebook timelines and like say something. So for someone like Taylor Swift, and especially like in the like knowing what she went through in 2016, like I was just like, we got to give the girl a break. We got to give her a break. and you just weren't getting it.
Nope.
And it's so fun for me to see how far you've come.
Come a long way. I guess that's a good segue for my intro.
Yeah.
So I will tell anyone who wants to listen that I wasn't a hater. I wasn't a hater of Taylor Swift, but I just didn't get it. Like, to be fair, like I didn't listen to pop music. I listened to indie. I listened to like pop rock and pop punk and like old school rock and also I was like a music kid. Like,
Yeah.
I was a music snob. And especially like that age when you're like in your like early 20s, like you just think you're the coolest. So anyway, it just wasn't my genre of music that I listened to anyway. And I think the truth, now that I can look back at that, it's like also I never really liked Taylor Swift singles. The singles that she puts out are like sometimes my least favorite songs.
They're almost never the best song on the album.
Exactly. So when I look back on it,
frustrating when people are like, I don't like her songs.
Yeah.
And they've only heard her singles.
Right. And that's where I was. I had only heard her singles because they were played at parties or like whatever. And I was like, I just don't get it. Like Shake It Off, like at the time.
I mean, it's a bop, but also
totally
not like one of my favorite songs of hers.
Right. And now I can look back at that time and be like, yeah, Shake It Off was like a certified bop, but like probably her most superficial song on 1989. So dig deeper. Anyway, so the patriarchy had me for most of my teens and 20s. I listened to mostly male artists, period.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
Do you still mostly listen to male artists?
No, I like only listen to women now.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for real. My Spotify Wrapped is so screwy because I'm a music teacher and I use Spotify. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can never share my Spotify Wrapped. It will never actually be like reflective of me.
Yeah.
It's reflective of what I teach. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, my Spotify is like all women. It's Phoebe Bridgers, it's Taylor Swift, it's Mitski, it's I mean it's Lorde, it's Lana Del Rey. It's women. It's
Yeah.
Gracie. Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
um but yeah, so I listened when looking back at that time, like I did listen to mostly men, and a lot of the music was about like I was a huge Bon Iver fan. I didn't care about the story. I cared about like the sonic beauty,
Mm-hmm.
which is a different way of looking at music for
Yeah.
sure.
The vibes.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember arguing with you at the bar once because I was just like, I just don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
there's other women who make good music. Like, why are we obsessed? But I was only listening to
Yeah.
her singles. So, like,
Right.
ugh.
I
I
think you were
think,
trying to say about Reputation that like she was just trying to be Lorde or something.
which that is something I would argue at that point in time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I now look back at that and be like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But the thing that really switched for me about Taylor was in 2019, she did this interview with CBS, and it sort of like blew up over the internet where she was talking just about sexism and like pop culture. And like one of the things that she had said was when a man does it, it's strategic. When a woman does it, it's calculated. And she's implying the man before the
Right.
man existed.
Right.
Um, and then she also announced in that interview that she was going to be re-recording her music. And I was like, wait, back up. Like, what's going on? And when I had found out the situation about her music being sold to Scooter Braun, I was like, absolutely not. We must stand this woman. So,
Yes.
so like that was the tipping point for me where I began to become more curious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then I started to like not before I even listened to more of her music, I just started to see more of these interview bites with her talking about her point of view and how she, I think another thing she said was like, I think it's a very sexist point of view to like criticize me for talking about my love life, but nobody does that to Ed Sheeran and nobody does that to Bruno Mars. I forget what
Mm-hmm.
interview that was, but that really was poignant for me. And then I I wasn't completely sold during the Lover era. I was like 80% in. That's where like the man came in and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, serve, yes, like that's great. But what
Mm-hmm.
really got me was Folklore. As soon as Folklore came out, I was like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah.
completely in,
Yeah.
completely in.
You are a true folklore convert.
Oh my God, yeah. And to be fair, that was my style of music for
Yeah.
many, many, many
I
years.
mean, Bon Iver is on there.
My boy,
She's welcoming you in. She's saying, I
yes.
see you. I love you. Come join the party.
Yeah, like to be fair, I probably was giving like Jake Gyllenhaal to her like when I was in my 20s, like you're not cool. And now I'm
Yeah.
like you are the coolest. So,
Mm-hmm.
here we are. And I can look back at that and be like, "Oh, little girl, you need to take a second." But yeah, I mean now after she's done these re-records, I'm able to look back at like how old she was during those albums originally, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember how I was during that age and how it felt to be that age of a girl for
Mm-hmm.
most of her albums. And like now I am so proud to be a woman, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
so proud to have an artist like Taylor Swift illustrate what it's like to be a woman in all phases from girlhood to where she is now. And, you know, celebrating experiences of girls from preteens all the way to like our 30s is something that should not be diminished. It should not be less than any other person's story. So, like, when I look back and I think about Love Story, I
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, Love Story, like, all right, like, you were Romeo. It's like, okay. But really, like, when you think about how old she was when she wrote that song, that's
Mm-hmm.
how we thought. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
like, the romantic ideals that we had at that time of what love should be, to be swept off
Right.
your feet. And like now with the re-records, I feel like honestly, like Taylor Swift is my therapy because I'm able to look back and be like Red for me when she was how old when she was 21, 22, that was my most tumultuous time probably ever. And I
Mm-hmm.
look back and I'm like, dude, yeah, like I was going through that too. And now I can look back and be like, yeah, that's some real stuff. Like that's real.
Yeah.
So I just I'm proud to be a Swiftie, a converted Swiftie, because now like I can look back at those songs that I once snubbed my or snubbed and just like whatevered about, and I think like that was a moment for girls everywhere. I just didn't know it.
Mm.
So
Well, I feel
yeah,
like what you're touching on here is very much that quote from the Time Person of the Year article that
yeah,
everyone's talking about like, what is the magic of Taylor Swift and her music is
yes,
saying like your experiences are valid and important and worth talking about,
yeah,
and especially for women and girls.
yeah. I think about my students a lot when I talk about Taylor Swift because now it's not something, well, maybe a little bit, but not the way it was when we were growing up. To like Taylor Swift was something I think a lot, like you
Mm-hmm.
were saying, a lot of girls felt like they didn't
And
want
you
to like
teach middle
share.
school.
Yeah, I teach eighth graders. And I
Mm-hmm.
think about how like girls don't really have the shame attached to liking a female artist like Taylor Swift now. They
Mm-hmm.
just like her.
Well, not
And she's highly
even,
celebrated. So
yeah, not even young girls, but everyone. Like,
mhm.
for the last few years, you have been like the main Swiftie in my life, aside from our friend Dave Beard, who was like with me in the trenches back during Reputation and stuff. But I have never met so many Taylor Swift fans, like true Swifties, as I have in the last year.
Yeah.
And like, there are people who are new to it, or some people who have been all about it all along, but it's now is because everyone's talking about her. You can't not talk
Oh,
about Taylor right now,
yeah.
whether you want to or not. Like at my job, we talk about her at coffee break, and it's me and like 9 dudes who usually only talk about football and whatever other sport they're watching on TV. But
Yeah.
Taylor is also part of the moment right now. And even if you're not a fan, you can't help but talk about her.
And I think like when I think about my students, I it's a different world. It's a different world now than it was when we were growing up. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so happy for them that they have a female artist like Taylor Swift. We didn't have that. Like who did we have? Like really?
Like
That
Britney Spears,
that
Christina
illustrated that
Aguilera.
very vulnerable side of like not the
Mm-hmm.
bubblegum pop
Right.
artists. Like
Not the like manufactured pop.
who by the way, I love manufactured pop, but
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is a storyteller. She often is telling extremely vulnerable stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about like my students like hearing like You're on Your Own Kid, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
if I heard that song when I was like a 13-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a different person. If folklore were
Mm-hmm.
out, I would be a different person. Like
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing about her that we haven't officially touched on yet is one of the things that makes her so astounding is her songwriting and the fact that she is a pop star who writes her own songs and has always written her own songs. Like any of these other like manufactured pop stars are not really writing their songs, which is fine. Like I fully believe like you can be like a singer and a dancer and a pop
totally.
star and have people write your music, and like that's not your thing. Like the performance is your thing. Cool. But Taylor does all of it, and that's why her songs are so personal. And usually we don't get that with a pop artist so much.
Yeah.
It's
I
more of
think
like a singer-songwriter thing, at least when we were growing up.
yeah. I'm I'm always like so astounded by the fact that she is able to tell her story without explicitly naming names like she used to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
being able to illustrate a feeling or how a relationship feels or betrayal or like whatever it is, whatever emotion, she has written a song about it.
Mm-hmm.
And from a very vulnerable, honest place. It's not a manufactured like rhyme scheme just to get the flow of a verse and a chorus. It's storytelling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like I'm glad that my students and like young girls today have that artist to look for as like
Mm-hmm.
a storyteller, and
Yeah.
to know that like any point of their life is worth sharing, which is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you were saying with the Time article, which is something I now can look back on and be like, yeah, what was I thinking?
Hey, it's called growth, you
It is
know?
growth.
We
It's
all get
growth for
there.
sure.
Well, so should we move on to our Desert Island 3?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. You go first.
Okay, so these are not necessarily our top 3 albums, but as of this moment in time, which is January of 2024, with the albums that we have available to us,
Yes.
what are the 3 albums we would take with us on a deserted island?
You only get 3.
You only get 3. Okay. So what I chose is number 1, Red Taylor's version, because I have to have All Too Well 10. I need to have that. Like,
Okay. Be honest. Have you ever used All Too Well 10-minute version as a clock for yourself?
no, I haven't.
I have.
Can you share what you were doing when you used the timer?
I was on a flight, and it was like, do you know like how when you see a flight you can see like how many minutes till like landing? And it
Yeah.
just felt like the longest time. It was like time was so slow, and I was like, I want to get off this plane. I was like, you
Hmm.
know what? This is only 2 All Too Well 10-minute versions. Let's go.
Yeah. Nice.
Helps. Anyway,
Yeah, so
sorry.
I absolutely need to have All Too Well 10 available to me. Plus, like I said, Red was really the album that pulled me in. So there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. It's also a good album because you've got your kind of like pop bangers, like We Were Never Ever Getting Back Together and
Yeah.
Trouble. But then you also have like Treacherous and, Sad, Beautiful, Tragic. Also, I love State of Grace.
Begin
So
again.
Begin Again. So it's got a good range. It's got a good range, that one.
Definitely.
Also, some of her best vault tracks on the Red TV.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So then my next pick is Folklore, because this was very tough for me picking between Folklore and Evermore. But I need to have August and My Tears Ricochet.
Fair.
those are 2 very, like, I need those 2 more than I need anything on Evermore. So I need to go with Folklore. So Folklore is my crying album, which I would probably use a lot if I'm stuck on a, desert island. So that's key. And then my third choice is Reputation, because
Slay.
you need to have Reputation for dancing and for angry times.
Nothing will make you build a fire and survive the wilderness than big reputation. Big reputation.
Yeah, and I feel like that really spans the spectrum of Taylor. I've got Red TV, which is that mesh of like country and pop. Then you got Folklore, which is her like indie
Yeah.
album. And then Reputation, which is that like grungy, dark
It's a good
album.
spread.
Yeah, I think I'll be set with those 3.
You got range.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely got range. I'm
Yeah.
surprised 1989's not on your list.
Like 1989, I love it, but it's not technically in like my top 3 or 4 favorites. Like, that's how good she is, though. But I will say 1989 Taylor's version, no skips. Like,
That's
it
true.
is so good.
I mean, we were talking about the Reds vault tracks, but like
Mm-hmm.
1989's vault tracks are also really good.
Yeah, and I feel like with the 1989 Taylor's version, she really took any song that for me was kind of like
I
I love it
know.
now.
I know. I don't know what magic she put in like oh my gosh, what's the song? Uh you can hear it in the silence. Silence. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my god."
is that You Were in Love?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I that was a skip for me before.
Me too.
And now,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, you got a good spread there. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So I, on the other hand, again, hard argument, folklore, Evermore. I think when it comes down to it, I'm an Evermore girly.
Here's the thing. I think I am also an Evermore girly,
I
but
am.
folklore has other things like emotionally for me that I would almost have to say it ranks a little higher, but it depends on how we're talking about it.
I I need whatever she put in "'Tis the Damn Season" pumped into my blood.
Oh, when
When I
that
hear,
like guitar riff starts,
I'm done.
cancel all your plans.
Oh,
Like that's all
also
you can
like
do.
I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've sobbed to Marjorie.
Yeah.
Um, and
That one's
I
always hit hard for you.
oh hit so hard. And
Mhm.
Champagne Problems. I mean, it's a no skip album to me. Um,
Mhm.
even like okay, so like I slept on like Cowboy Like Me for the longest time,
Me too.
and now I'm obsessed. Um, so yeah, I it's a no skip album for me.
Mhm.
Bonnie Iver's on it and Evermore.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I argued for folklore for a little bit, and I was just like, like Evermore is just that like November feeling.
Evermore
Like,
is also your color palette.
yeah, that's true. It's
Mhm.
the vibe. Um,
Yeah.
so that's got to be one of my top three for sure. Just the perfect
Mhm.
album. I also had Reputation. Just slay a clock.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to feel like you are a true queen in your domain,
Yes.
and I will be slaying all around that deserted island.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Also, like I used to hate on Reputation so hard. That was one that I that was when I'm like, I was so wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
You were.
yeah,
I'm glad you've come around.
I know. I don't know what happened. I just like one day I was just like, I need like hit and pop music, and I listened to Reputation. I was
I
like, this
remember
is the
it
right
was
choice.
like you were in your treadmill walking era, or maybe even
Yes,
you were still running at the time.
I was running at the time, and I remember Endgame. Endgame was on. I was like, okay, okay, and then it was like Delicate was next, and I was like, okay, and it just never stopped.
Yeah.
So Reputation is I mean, I'm so excited for Reputation Taylor's version to come
Mm,
out.
I cannot wait.
I don't even want to like I don't even understand what she's going to do with the vault tracks because I'm sure there's a lot of tea that's going to be spilled. But anyway,
Hmm.
and then for me, Midnight's is my third album, and I feel like a lot of people are everyone was so excited for Midnight's when it came out, and I feel like a lot of people are like treading back on Midnight's a little bit.
Oh,
Um,
what do you mean? Like saying it's not as good?
I think because a lot of people are obsessed with 1989, and 1989 and Midnight's have kind of a similar production feel,
Midnight's is like dark 1989.
right? But for me, Midnight's was like it was an experiential moment for me because it was the first time I was super super excited for not a surprise drop of Taylor Swift. There
Right.
was like a rollout.
Hmm.
Midnight's Mayhem with Me was a thing.
Yeah. You and I did
Um,
our listening party.
we had a listening party with Midnight Snacks. It was so fun to get
Hmm.
excited for an album. So for me, that's like a special little thing that I'm like, that cemented me as a Swiftie if I
Yeah.
wasn't already.
Hmm.
And also, I think I played Midnights every single day, like for months.
Yeah.
And You're on Your Own, Kid. might be one of my favorite songs that she's written
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just a very special song to me. And I also, I mean, talk about like the 3 a.m. edition, like
Mm.
all those songs. In fact, I just like,
Yeah.
I, I already sort of assume that they're going to be, so it's Midnight's 3 a.m. edition.
Right. That's like
You know what I mean?
Midnight's. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Not just
also
regular
like
Midnights.
Hits Different and You're Losing Me
Oh
are
my
two of my favorite
God.
songs from Midnight's.
If I would have heard You're Losing Me at the wrong time, I would be a different person. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that album to me is really special sentimentally, but also just it has the pop feel that I like, but it's
Mhm.
not it's a darker pop album, so that's sort of
Right.
my vibe anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, plus it's got your girl Lana Del Rey on it.
Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
We love. Yeah, such a great album. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people are sort of since 1989 Taylor's version came out, a lot of people are like not talking about Midnights or maybe saying like, "Oh, I think we were really excited, but like is it that good? I don't know." But
Right.
it is that good to me. So,
I think Midnight's for me, I mean, it's coming on the heels of Folklore and Evermore, which are just in their own like category of Taylor Swift. And I love Midnight's, but I think as an album, for me, it's definitely like mid. But at the same time, when I think about all the amazing songs that are on it,
oh,
I'm like,
Karma.
and like, would have, could have, should have. That
Oh,
was my top song in 2023. Like most
dude.
listened to. um, but also it sometimes it takes a while because like we were talking about those songs from 1989 that we now
Mhm.
love like 10 years after the fact. And like when we were first listening to Midnight's, I was like, Maroon.
Oh my God,
And now
Maroon.
it's one of my favorite songs.
I
So
feel that way
sometimes you
about
just have to sit with it.
yeah, like Dear Reader to me, I was like, I don't know if I get it. Now I get it.
Yes. Dear
Like
Reader was also a little bit of a sleeper for me, and it's one of my favorites on the album now.
I also feel like Midnight's came out during a time when I don't think we really understood what was really going on in her personal life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like there's a lot to read into there. So for sure, that's
Yeah.
something we could
It's
dig
a rich
into
text.
for sure. A lot of veiled confessions in that album
Yes.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love that album. I love it, and karma is real. So
Yeah.
we shall see. But yeah, but like you said, this is what's out right now. This is January of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I
Which,
think the layout would change if there were other albums dropped and new
right.
stuff came out, but yeah, that's where we're at.
Let's make predictions for 2024.
Ooh, this is fun. Okay. All right. First prediction. First question. Do you think she's going to drop Reputation or a new album first?
My theory is that she will not drop a new album until the tour ends.
Mm.
Because I don't see how she could enter a new era
With
and release that much new music and not have um
new section.
a new section of the tour unless she changes the tour, unless the tour becomes an evolving thing. But that seems like honestly too
That
much
is
work.
such a tight show. I don't know how you would be able to shorten
Right.
there's maybe
She
one
could
or
make
two
some
songs,
edits.
but
But to add the choreo, the visuals, like everything, it just seems like too much. And so right now she's slated to finish the tour at the end of 2024. So my prediction is Reputation TV and then self-titled / debut, whatever you want to call it, I think they will come out during the tour in this calendar year, 2024. And then after the tour is done and she's like finished her eras and now owns all of her music from all the previous eras, then it's time to enter into like Taylor 2.0,
I
like
agree with
post
that.
eras tour.
I agree with that. I do think that it would be extremely difficult for her to add new music into her tour schedule, like as far as like the timeline of like how much time she has.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that there's something to be said about reclaiming all of the eras by the end of the tour and then
Mm-hmm.
starting fresh, or sort of putting
Yes.
a pin on
Mm-hmm.
the experience of that with a new
Mm-hmm.
album. So like there's something about doing all of the stuff she wanted to do, reclaiming her albums, reclaiming her name, and then putting a cherry on top and saying, "And now here's this new era I'm doing and I'm on to new things." Like
Yes. Yeah.
I totally can see that happen. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if okay, I don't know if she's going to do Reputation as soon as people think. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, there have been a lot of theories. I,
But it would be February,
yeah. Well,
which it still could be.
a lot of people were speculating that her opening day in Tokyo. Um,
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it's as soon as people think. I think that she's very strategic with when she decides to release things.
Mm-hmm.
I heard like about 112 days theory. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
about that. And
Mm-hmm.
technically, that is soon.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's like February 8th, which would
yeah.
be her first day back on tour.
But I feel like there's always a timeline with her when it comes to like awards and Grammy nominations and stuff like
Mm.
that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the theme of that drop's going to be. Is it going to be a surprise or is it going to be a rollout?
Because Reputation originally was mostly a surprise
Yeah,
compared to her previous albums.
right.
Not quite a surprise like Folklore and Evermore,
Right.
but relatively speaking, it was a surprise drop.
Do you think that in 2024 we are going to have a Kim Kardashian slash Kardashian crossover in Reputation?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, is Kim and Taylor going to make up? Are they going to make up? What if you just call Taylor up?
Here's the thing. That's up to Kim. And Kim
I
seems to want nothing to do with it. Kim seems to have no interest, which also, let me preface this by saying with the caveat like, I don't pay attention to Kim Kardashian. I have never seen an episode of the Kardashians. Like, I truly don't care. And like, she's just not for me. Like people say, like, you know, like I respect that she's like famous. I don't care. But from what I know of all the Taylor of it all, she has had every opportunity to apologize because it's so obvious now how wrong she was, and she still hasn't. So
I
I
think
don't think she will.
why wouldn't she? If you think about it, it would be such a great PR move for her to close the chapter of the Kanye of it all and
Mm,
her being a duo in that horrific moment that they decided to make
mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah.
But what a strategic move it would be for her to be like on a music video or like mentioned in a
Mm-hmm.
song and like she's in like I don't know some promo for it or something. Like why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
But here's the thing: if Kim apologized, I could see Taylor saying, "Thank you, I appreciate that, and I still don't ever want anything to do with you."
That's fair too.
Because like
That's fair.
Kanye had like she thought they had made up.
Yeah.
She gave him so many opportunities to redeem himself and then he literally stabbed her in the back. So
I
and
do
I think she's done giving those people her
I
time of day.
I agree. I do think that even if there was to be an apology, maybe there already has been an apology. I think Taylor has every right to be like, you know what, it would be really cool, but like, I want nothing to do with this. Like,
Yeah. Like, I still want to be excluded from this narrative.
yeah,
Like, thanks for apologizing. You should apologize, but don't expect us to be friends. We're
yeah.
not friends. You
Be
know?
interesting. So we're saying reputation and debut. Is it going to be a double drop? Is it going to be a separate drop? It's got to be
Separate.
separate.
It's gotta be, they both need their moment. And they're
Yeah,
so different.
yeah.
Like, no. No, they have such different
But
narratives
she
surrounding
doesn't
them.
even have a single song in the Eras tour with debut.
Right.
So
I know. Just
I don't
kind
know.
of surprising.
I mean,
But
who knows?
who knows? But yeah, I still think we could maybe get Reputation in February. And I would love that for
I
us.
would love that very much for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm so happy to see her at all the football games. I know that's going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we know that she's going to produce a movie or direct a movie soon.
Is that still
Um,
happening in 2024?
I don't think it's happening when she's on tour, but I have a feeling that she's probably in the pre-production stages. She probably is choosing
Yeah.
scripts or writing scripts.
Right.
But I'm sure like the actual directing is happening there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no
That's got to
way.
be like next year, I guess.
Yeah, I mean she does have breaks in the tour lineup, but
Yeah.
not enough to film a movie, I would assume, but
Right.
I don't know. Movie buffs weigh in
Yeah.
because I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. We also have no idea what kind of like scandals or controversies may arise in the
I
year.
mean, just what, like a couple days ago, there was the gossip between her and Selena Gomez, which is so funny.
Yeah. Well, apparently Selena came out and said that she was telling Taylor about two of her friends who had hooked up.
I love
So,
it.
yeah.
I love it so much.
I love their
Um,
friendship.
I know. So yeah, there'll be scandals we can't even imagine. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We had said we would talk about Eras tour memories.
Yeah. So you and I both were lucky enough to attend the Eras tour in May of 2023.
Yes.
Shout out. I have I have
Hey.
this shirt, a gray shirt, and a crew neck sweatshirt with the. It's one of the only Taylor Swift merch designs that I like.
I know her merch, guys. Like
Somebody help them out.
somebody help. Like for real. Sarah, like hire.
Especially for someone who has such a clear vision stylistically for every album. Like, what is going on with the merch?
I don't know. I don't know. It's bad.
I don't know.
I would say like for every drop there's like one thing that I like, but I can't actually get myself to buy it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's better stuff on Etsy. Hate to
Yeah.
say it.
I know.
What was I going to say about tour? Oh, so I was the lucky person who got us tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot describe how crazy that experience was buying those tickets.
And you had to buy 5 because there were 5 of
Yeah.
us in our group. And I guess when they search for the tickets, you need 5 seats in a row, right?
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
like, oh, you can get 3 here and 2 here.
No.
Like back, in front of each other.
And I was clicking the 5 and it was just like going to check out and then being like bounce back because those been sold. And it happened like 3 times and I was like, I'm going to get booted out of this. We're not going to get these tickets. Like the pre-sale the day before was a nightmare. We couldn't get in. It crashed.
Yeah.
And then when I finally clicked checkout, I remember being like, I have no idea where our seats are, guys. I have no idea. I just clicked it and you guys were like, great. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
who cares? We have tickets.
And we got there and that was amazing. We were, when was that? May 12th.
It was the first night in Philly.
Yeah, of Philadelphia. Yeah. Great night. That was the night that she had mentioned that Eagles sweatshirt hanging from her door was about the Philadelphia Eagles, not the Eagles band.
Which, do you believe her?
No, but it's fine.
I don't think I do either.
I mean, it's cute. If it is true, that's cute. But
I mean, I guess. I don't know.
My thing is like, unless you're talking about a boyfriend when you were in high school, I don't know.
Right.
But it's fine. It's a cute story.
Yeah.
Great, obviously great concert.
Oh God.
Um,
We made a whole day of it because
yeah,
we all like went out to lunch on the way there, and then we had to stand in line outside for an hour and a half,
we
maybe,
were
before the doors
graciously
opened.
under shade for most of that.
Thankfully,
It
and
was not super hot,
I think I got a little sunburnt.
maybe a little bit,
It was no, it was hot because I was like sweating through my dress.
but it was like May, so it could have been a rain show. Like it could have been
Yeah,
crazy.
but I
Um,
had an allergy attack in line. And then I was like, wait,
oh
there's so
right.
many moms here. I was like, I'm just going to go down the line and see if any of these moms has an allergy pill. And it was like the
Yes.
third person I asked had an
It
allergy
was
pill and saved my life.
I feel like this has been said on social media, but being at the Eras Tour felt like the closest thing to being in Barbie world because
Mm-hmm.
it was all safe people. Like it was
Yeah.
moms and daughters and girls our age or
Yeah.
younger and like
And
husbands of
gays.
wives and gays and
And dads
dads.
wearing like Swifty dad
It
shirts.
was just like the coolest thing. And I remember like being in 70,000 worth of people around us and just thinking like this is the size like of like Lancaster City.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all in this enclosed environment and I think we're just fine. Like
Right.
I'm not worried at all.
Yeah. Not at all. Yeah, it was great.
It was so cool.
Did you cry at all when we were there?
I didn't cry. No, I didn't cry.
I didn't fully cry, but I almost cried during the opening, and
The
then
opening. Ugh,
I did fully cry during the opening of the Eras Tour movie on opening night. Like
nice.
full tears streaming down my face. Like I was so emotional. But the one moment where I really almost cried at the actual concert was during All Too Well 10. Just like having her sing this song that is so monumental and her just standing alone in that stage with her guitar and then everyone's wrists lit
So
up in
cool.
red lights and we're all singing along to this 10-minute song. It was that feeling of community that was so strong, and just knowing that we were there like that, I loved it. But yeah, just that sense of community was so wonderful and special, and
Yeah.
I felt so lucky to be a part of it. It was really emotional for me.
Oh, it was so magical. Also like Marjorie is a special song for me, so that was probably the closest I got to crying.
Mm,
But another thing that was really cool is that Phoebe Bridgers opened, and I'm a huge Phoebe Bridgers fan.
yep.
And oh, we were at the show where Maddie Healy played with Phoebe
Yes,
Bridgers,
that's right.
and this was like when they were spotted out in Philly the day before, or on the main
Oh,
line. They weren't in
yes.
Philly. Um, and there were like rumors about them dating, and I was like, oh, this is like, I'm not sure if this is a good look. And then he was there playing with Phoebe, and I was like,
Yeah.
huh, that's interesting. Um, but
Yeah, I
oh,
guess it was early
the
on.
fact that I got to hear Nothing New with two of
Yes.
my favorite artists,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah, that was special because I love Nothing New.
Me
And
too.
I'm not a Phoebe fan like you are, but I love Nothing New. So to be able to experience them performing it together and also seeing the like joy and gratitude on Phoebe's face
Oh,
performing that with her was really nice.
you could see her just like she would sing to her and like they'd be in it and then you could just see her like looking around being like, oh my god, the amount of
Yeah.
people that are just
Yeah.
here, like so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
I
was
loved
awesome.
it. But yeah, it was fun. We went with our friends Dave and Kelly, who are married, Dave being the Swiftie I mentioned earlier, and also our friend Charlotte. So it was five of us.
Yes.
And yeah, it was
my
great.
my husband Luke is not like the hugest Taylor fan, but he's forced to listen to Taylor all the time, obviously. And he is someone who has the most FOMO ever. And he was like, no, it would be wrong for me to take a ticket because like some other Swiftie would die to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to take that away from somebody. So like, no, you guys go.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about it all the time, how much he regrets not going. He's like, I
Yeah.
should have gone. He was like, I'm going next time. I don't care. I'm going next time. And I was
Good.
just like, good. Yeah, you should.
And it's a shame because we had empty seats in our row.
Wasn't that weird? We had 2 empty seats
Yeah.
flanking us, which was good because we could spread out, but it was
Yeah.
kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but as far as we know, it was completely sold out. So
Right. So people either couldn't show up or it was someone who was trying to sell them, I
yeah,
guess.
scalper, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
guess.
it's such a cool thing to say. Like I saw her,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like at the most monumental. I mean, I'm sure she will tour again, but like to hear all the songs
Mm-hmm.
was so cool.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be the thing that when we're like in our 50s and 60s and like the Taylor Swift biography is coming out and maybe
Yeah,
she's doing some kind of like reunion tour, it's going to be like people talk about the Eras tour and we'll be able to say that we were there.
we were there. I
We
was
were
there. It was rare. I
Yeah.
remember it
Mm-hmm.
all too well.
Yes, exactly.
So good. Um, oh my gosh. I cannot believe it's already been an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we didn't really touch on any food stuff today, guys, but like we just wanted to give you a really like brief, I say, as it's been an hour,
Mm-hmm.
rundown of like who we are, our backgrounds with Taylor, sort of like our vibe when it comes to connecting with Taylor. And
Yeah.
we're going to get more into like the foodie side as well as like the tale lore of it all. So like the folklore of a lot of her music. And I'm really excited for our next episode's topic. Should we tease it or?
Yeah, so we are planning to discuss astrology and Taylor Swift.
Ooh, lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I'm also very excited for our episode following, which has to do with one of our favorite bakeries.
Mm-hmm.
So more on that to come.
Yes.
Yeah, happy first episode. We did it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And if you'd like to support the pod, please give us a follow at Blank Plate Pod on TikTok and Instagram.
Yes, and you can send us an email at blankplaguepod@gmail.com or send us a voicemail at 717-382-8313. And I did choose that phone number because it ends in 13, so use it.
Good choice.
We love a voicemail. We'd love to like hear your voices and conspiracies and stuff. So send us a call.
Mm-hmm. And until then, we had the time of our lives with you.
Yeah, and you know when it's time to go. So
Bye.